Behind the beach filters and the $2 pad thai, there's a machine running underneath this country that most foreigners never see until it's already got them. Thailand isn't a playground. It's not consequence-free. It's a mirror, and if you don't respect what you're looking at, it will financially and mentally take you apart, smiling the whole time. Today, we're going through 7 traps. How a 55-year-old Brit named Gary Holloway lost £210,000 and didn't see it coming until the locks were already changed. Why the sky turns orange for 3 months a year and nobody warns you. Why yelling at traffic here can get you killed. Why total freedom quietly destroys smart, disciplined men. And why the healthcare system will happily let you die in a 5-star hospital bed if your card declines. Let's start with the bait, because the bait is very, very good. Sabai, sabai. It means relaxed, easy, comfortable. It's also the best marketing slogan a survival economy has ever produced, and nobody's paying for the ad. You go online, you see a condo in Pattaya for 9,000 baht a month, about $250, street food for 60 baht. You do the maths and you think, I can live like a king out here on my pension. And you're right, you can. That's not the trap. The trap is what happens when you take King's budget into Walking Street on a Friday night. Because here's what nobody tells you, the women working these bars aren't running some genius con. They're playing an entirely different game to the one you think you signed up for. You think you walked into a romance. You actually walked into a highly efficient, deeply pragmatic economy, and you brought the only thing it needs, a foreign bank card. And here's the part that'll actually annoy you, they usually don't even lie. Ask on night 1 and she'll tell you straight. Mum needs help with the rice farm, brother's in debt, dad's diabetic, and the meds aren't free. The information is right there. Most guys just don't want to hear it because they're too busy enjoying being looked at like they're the most interesting man in the room for the first time in a decade. The trap doesn't spring because she deceives you. It springs the day your money runs low, or the day you find out you're the 3rd foreigner wiring cash home this month. And when that happens, she doesn't fight you for it. She just moves to provider number 4. Because family survival will always beat a temporary romance, every single time. Financial mistakes, though, aren't even the most common way this country gets you. There's something that gets almost every single new arrival, and it's not in any of the YouTube videos about visas. Late February, the sky turns this dull orange, like someone's put a filter over the sun. The air smells like a campfire that never goes out. First year I saw it, I thought it was fog rolling in. It's not fog. It's burning season, and for 2 to 3 months it turns northern Thailand into some of the most toxic air on the planet. Chiang Mai regularly tops the global charts for worst air quality on Earth. Not Delhi, not Beijing, Chiang Mai. The air quality index sits above 300 for weeks at a time. Sometimes it hits 500. For context, over 50 is a warning for sensitive groups. Over 300 is officially hazardous to human life. The killer is PM 2.5 particles so microscopic they skip your lungs entirely and go straight into your bloodstream. Breathing that air for a season is roughly equivalent to smoking a pack a day, every day, for 3 months. Sore throat that never clears. Eyes that burn constantly. A dry, hacking cough you can't shift. Energy just gone. Everyone blames the local farmers. Lazy locals burning their fields. I believed that too for about a year. Then I actually looked into it. It's not local laziness. It's a multi-billion-dollar transnational agribusiness operation. Massive contract farming conglomerates control the animal feed supply chain across Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar. They need enormous volumes of corn for industrial livestock feed, and the cheapest way to clear the stubble for next season is fire. Millions of acres of it. It's not a nuisance. It's a profitable industrial process the government can't stop because the companies doing it hold serious economic and political weight. The smoke gets trapped in the mountain valleys and just sits there for months. That's the air. Now let's talk about what happens on the roads, because this is the one that actually kills foreigners on a weekly basis, and it's not for the reason you'd think. Picture the arrival day classic. Bloke lands in Phuket, drops his bags, walks straight to a rental shop, hands over his passport, and rents a 150 cubic centimeter scooter. No motorbike license back home. Board shorts, flip-flops, a helmet he doesn't even do up. Thailand consistently ranks in the top 5 countries on Earth for road deaths, and some years it's the single deadliest country in Asia to drive in. Over 70% of those deaths are motorbikes. The roads are a genuinely chaotic mix of speeding pickup trucks, slow scooters, blind corners, and street dogs that will run straight under your front wheel. But the physical risk is only half of it. The part that actually gets guys hospitalized or worse is a total misread of the culture. In the West, road rage is basically a national sport. Someone cuts you off, you lean on the horn, you shout, you flip them off, you drive away, done. Vented, forgotten. Do that here, and you are gambling with your life. Thai culture runs on a concept called face public dignity, harmony, never humiliating someone openly. There's a phrase for staying composed, Jai Yen, cool heart. You smile, you smooth it over, even mid-fury. But push someone past that line, humiliate them publicly, and they flip from Jai Yen to Jai Ron, hot heart. And when that switch flips, it is almost never a shouting match. It's an immediate, disproportionate physical response. Here's the bit that catches foreigners out completely. Horn etiquette is inverted here. A quick, light tap to announce yourself round a blind bend, totally normal, expected even. Holding the horn down in anger for even a second is read as a direct public insult. You're not venting. You're humiliating a stranger in front of his whole street. I watched this play out in Pattaya. Tourist on a rental scooter gets cut off by a lifted pickup, pulling out of a soy without looking. He locks the brakes, skids, survives, but his pride's dented. He leans on the horn for a good 5 seconds, pulls up beside the truck at the next light, starts screaming. The driver says nothing, doesn't shout back, just opens his door, steps out with a tire iron in his hand, and walks over. Tourist's out cold before he even registers what's happening. Driver gets back in his truck and drives off when the light turns green. To a Western brain, that's an insane overreaction to a fender bender. To the local mind, the tourist stripped a man of his public dignity in front of witnesses. The violence wasn't rage, it was restoration. Different rule book entirely. And if you do end up in hospital after something like that, here's the twist. Your travel insurance voids itself the moment they find out you were riding without an international motorcycle license. That's a $50,000 bill in cash, with your name on it. Now, road rage and bad air are things you can at least see coming once you know about them. The next trap is quieter. It doesn't come for your body, it comes for your bank account and your ego at the exact same time. And it's the one that actually broke Gary Holloway. Gary was 55. Civil engineer, semi-retired, divorced 18 months, Manchester born and bred. Sold his share in a mid-sized surveying firm outside Stockport for a decent sum. Got the villa in Rawai. Told his mates back home he was just going to breathe for a while. He met her in Central Festival, the big mall in Pattaya. Not a bar. That's the part that got him. He'd already decided bar girls were the obvious trap, the thing every YouTube video warns you about. So when he met Nok, 30 years old, working the counter at a phone accessories kiosk, laughing at his terrible attempt at ordering in Thai, his guard was completely down. This wasn't the trap he'd been warned about. It was just a nice, normal woman in a nice, normal mall. That's the first sign he missed. The trap doesn't only live in go-go bars. It lives anywhere a lonely, recently divorced man with a fat bank balance and a hunger to feel wanted again can be found. Nok wasn't running a bar scam. She didn't need to be. He was lonely in a way he hadn't let himself admit since the divorce. 25 years her senior, and for the first time in years, someone was looking at him like he mattered. That feeling is the entire product here. It's not sold in a bar. It's sold everywhere. Most workers Gary would eventually learn about, and Nok herself come from Isan, the northeast, historically the poorest region in the country, hit by cyclical drought and unreliable rice yields. What most foreigners never clock is that a huge share of Isan's household income doesn't come from farming at all. It comes from remittances, money wired home by daughters working the tourist provinces. You're not dating someone who needs rescuing. You're dating the financial engine of an extended family. Take that woman out of her income stream, and you've just taken on her aging parents, her siblings, and very often a child from a previous relationship. Financially, immediately, whether anyone says it out loud or not. Gary found out about Nok's daughter 3 months in, 6 years old, living with the grandparents in Buriram. He didn't run. He decided this was his chance to actually matter to someone. That's sign number 2 he missed mistaking being needed for being loved. They're not the same thing, but at 55, freshly divorced, on a beach 5,000 miles from anyone who knew him, It felt identical. Here's where the money actually went, because the vague version, he lost everything, isn't useful to you. The specifics are £38,000 sinsod, the traditional dowry paid to the parents, partly cash, partly gold, to save face in the village and prove he could provide. £54,000 a house built on land in Knock's mother's name in Buriram, because foreigners legally cannot own land here outright. £61,000 over 4 years, monthly remittances to Knock's parents, her daughter's school fees, and this is the bit that stung later. 2 other cousins Gary was told needed help with medical bills. £22,000 a used pickup truck, a motorbike, and a small noodle stall business that failed within 8 months. £35,000 legal fees after the relationship collapsed and Gary tried to fight for any stake in the house he'd paid for. Total, £210,000. Gone in just under 4 years. He told himself for a long time that this was different, that Knock wasn't like the stories. And here's the detail that actually broke him when it finally clicked: she'd never really lied. Every single ask, she told him exactly why, up front. Mum's knees, Dad's blood sugar, the roof, the school uniform. It was all true. He just never asked the question underneath it. What happens to me when I stop being useful? He found out on a Tuesday in October. Papers from a Bangkok lawyer delivered to his own front door the house Knock's mother legally owned. Eviction notice. Gary had zero recourse. Thai property law exists precisely to stop foreigners doing what Gary did, and it worked exactly as designed. Just not for him. He went back and read every text message from the very start looking for the con. There wasn't one. She told him the truth the entire time. He'd just heard "I love you" every time she actually said "I need help." That single realization is the part of this story people quote back to me the most, because it's not really about Thailand. It's about a man mistaking being financially essential for being emotionally chosen, and only figuring out the difference 4 years and £210,000 too late. And Gary's story isn't even the darkest outcome available, because losing money is recoverable. What happens next to some men isn't. Everyone comes here to escape the rat race. No boss, no alarm clock, cold beer at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, answerable to nobody. Sounds like the dream? Watch a few of the older, glassy-eyed guys propping up a beach bar at noon, and you start to suspect it isn't. Psychologists talk about healthy friction, the idea that humans actually need a certain amount of structure, deadline pressure, and social judgment to function well. The 9 to 5 you hated was doing more for your mental health than you realized. Thailand removes almost all of that friction at once. Cost of living is low enough you don't need to hustle. The weather never forces you inside. And Thai culture is famously non-confrontational. Nobody's going to tell you to your face that you're falling apart. They'll just smile and pour the next one. Total freedom, it turns out, isn't a gift. It's a psychological vacuum, and it swallows disciplined men just as easily as reckless ones. I met a guy on Kofang, an American, mid-30s, sold a software company for a genuinely serious sum. Came out to decompress and build his next project somewhere stress-free. Rented a cliffside villa with a sea view that looked like a screensaver. First few months, his life looked flawless from the outside. 3 years later, he hadn't written a single line of code. No investor calls, no competitive pressure, no reason to get up. His internal drive just switched off. Health went with it, sleep went. He developed a serious substance problem, chasing any kind of feeling because ordinary life had gone completely flat. Stopped returning calls home, sat alone at the bar most afternoons, telling anyone who asked that he was living the dream, while quietly terrified of the idea of ever going back to compete with people in California again. Thai culture survives its own intensity because it's held up by a strict internal structure: family duty, religious obligation, respect for elders. Those are the guardrails keeping locals grounded. Foreigners arrive completely outside that structure. No language, no obligations, no accountability. You think you found paradise. You've actually found a sunlit waiting room, and the thing waiting is whatever you were already running from. You didn't leave your problems at the airport. You brought them with you in your carry-on, and Thailand won't confront you about it. It'll just smile and let you sink. Surviving that requires more discipline than your old life ever did, not less. And even if you get all of that right, even if you keep the discipline, dodge the freedom trap, avoid the romance economy entirely, there's one more bill waiting for you, and it usually arrives decades later when you're least equipped to fight it. You see them at the malls in Bangkok, on the terraces in Hua Hin, older Western men, tanned, relaxed, local wife, looking like they've cracked it. A huge number of them are one bad diagnosis away from total financial collapse, and almost nobody talks about why. Guys arrive around 50, feeling great, eating the street food, hitting the gym, feeling 10 years younger than back home. They buy a cheap local health policy for a few £100 a year and quietly congratulate themselves for beating the Western healthcare racket. That cheap policy is designed to take your premiums while you're healthy and drop you the moment you're not. Hit 70 and the entire game resets. Comprehensive cover gets astronomically expensive, and plenty of local insurers simply won't renew you at all. Try to switch providers that late. With any medical history, blood pressure meds, an old surgery, and any pre-existing condition gets permanently excluded from the new policy. You're paying premium prices for a policy riddled with loopholes. And the hospitals here are genuinely 5-star. Bumrungrad, Bangkok Hospital, grand pianos in the lobby, concierge staff fluent in Arabic, Russian and English, a Starbucks next to the pharmacy. It's an extraordinary facade sitting on top of a ruthless business model. Serious care runs full Western prices. A week in intensive care is routinely $80,000 to $100,000, and they take a credit card deposit before you're even wheeled into surgery. Card declines, and the embassy will not help you. Your home country will not pay your bill. I knew a bloke 65, fit, proud, he'd never bought insurance, kept $50,000 in a Thai bank account, and called it self-insured. Told everyone at the pub he'd beaten the system. At 72, he had a minor scooter tip over at a red light. Didn't even crash properly. Scraped his shin. A week later, that scrape had turned into a severe blood infection. He collapsed in his kitchen, spent a month in intensive care. The hospital saved his life and handed him a bill for well beyond his entire emergency fund. They held his passport until it was settled. He fire-sold his condo at a loss to buy his own freedom back. 40 years of savings, gone in 30 days, because of a scraped shin. That's not a cautionary tale about bad luck. That's the actual, ordinary, well-documented risk of retiring here without ironclad cover in place before you need it. Say you survive all of it, the smog, the road rage, the romance economy, the healthcare bill. There's one more shift happening under your feet the whole time, and it's the one nobody plans for. You never built an exit. Guys get comfortable enough here that they burn the bridge behind them, sell the house back home because the taxes are annoying, let their national healthcare lapse, cut ties with the old life entirely, and just assume Thailand will let them stay under the exact same terms forever. It won't. Thailand doesn't want poor foreigners, and it never has. You are a guest permanently, no matter how many years you've clocked here, and the visa rules can and do change without warning. People come here running from something, a divorce, a failed business, a version of themselves they didn't like. They treat the whole country like a consequence-free stage built for their personal reinvention. And for a while, it plays along. I look at this place and I feel two things at once. I see the genuine warmth of the culture, the temples, the food, the sheer beauty of it. And underneath, I see a machine that will happily, politely, smilingly grind you into dust the moment you stop respecting it. Thailand isn't paradise. It's a mirror. It doesn't change who you are. It just shows you, with nowhere left to hide. Come here disciplined, prepared, genuinely respectful of the hierarchy you've stepped into, and it'll give you a quality of life you'd never touch back home. Come here running from yourself, and it will let you destroy yourself gently, with a smile the entire time. Keep an emergency fund you don't touch. Get ironclad health cover before you think you need it. Keep a real exit plan. And whatever you do, never ever hold the horn down. So here's the actual question, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. If you booked a one-way ticket to Bangkok tomorrow, are you running toward a better life? Or are you just running away from yourself? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next one.